So it is just amazing how much caring stories I'm hearing for tonight. I hope everyone's enjoying all of them because I surely am. Both for the 5-minute stories and the short ones with the anonymous ones. So man, so if anything, I'm getting my heart full from hearing all of it. So thank you all. Alright. I see everyone's pretty much all still here, so I really appreciate that you all are. That means, that means y'all care about my story, right? So I appreciate that. Here's part 2. Alright, so a while ago, I shared my story on how I went from only caring about myself to showing extreme care to others. I went from caring about establishing my dominance and popularity to caring about others through protecting and saving lives. So don't get me wrong, I'm confident to say that I can speak for everyone here that protecting and saving lives is an awesome way of expressing care. But I'm about to continue my story on how my perspective on caring went from deliberate big actions to including smaller but powerful expressions. On one fateful day, a friend who's very keen on observing from afar asked me, how do you show you care through your day-to-day actions? This was such a simple yet intelligent question. So like any other person, I responded accordingly with a typical logical response. So when that person asked, how do you show you care through your day-to-day actions? I said, what the fuck? What do you mean? I'm here, I'm available, I'm showing I care. So he asked, are you? Are you really? So he then asked me to sit down and explain to me that although I'm constantly doing amazing stuff, and that he applauds me for it, there's something about what I do for my big things that dehumanizes me. I never saw this. So he continued to explain that I had put myself on a level where I was not approachable anymore. That I could not be bothered by the problems or even conversations of others. The people that I know. The people that I know by name. I have become an icon at this point instead of a person. Here's where the principle of caring stops and the art of caring begins. I now have an awakened perspective to do what I want to do and harmonize it with everyone and everything around me. So I'm going to touch upon the everyone part, and then I'm going to explain about the everything part. So let's start with something small, but a very lasting and powerful question. It's something I mentioned a while ago. The question of, how are you? Now I know that this question can hold a lot of weight, but what I have learned is that there's an art to show how much care is behind this question. If I genuinely wanted to show how much I care, I had to let my level of care speak for itself. This means I had to, and here we go, here's a tiny little bullet list that I got over here. I had to stop what I was doing at the moment, divert all attention to that person, establish eye contact, mind my posture, actively listen, acknowledge what was being shared, empathize more than sympathize, provide support, offer resources, respect the privacy, follow up on a later basis, and, hug if applicable, so on and so forth, right? There's many more things on that one, and that's just with that one question of how are you, on how you express your care behind that question. So there's many more considerations on that one, but I want to show that I care about not just everyone outside of my world, but everyone within it too, equally. But I mean, my gosh, like who would have thought like all that from just like that question? There's like so much weight behind it, right? This is already tiring just thinking about it, let alone explaining it, and then the act of doing it. So there's a lot. Okay, so now what about the everything part? I talked about the everyone, how about the everything? At this point, I want to be clear that this is not restricted to tangible items. Like sure, I will show I care about items. Whether it holds sentimental value to myself and or others, or it doesn't. But caring about everything also constitutes how you present yourself and what the considerations, what the risks are, etc., etc. Sometimes this aligns with caring about everyone, but it takes a mindfulness to consider about everything. To summarize, the everything that I'm talking about is opportunities. So, I have more things to consider. More things, more on my plate, because I just want to care. I just want to express this care so much. And I truly want to show that I care. So what are these different opportunities? And where do I draw the line? Because this is hard. For everything that I mentioned, it feels like a lot of things just for me to show I care. Like at some point I gotta cut off somewhere, right? So now that I'm mindful and aware, I honestly cannot draw a line. I cannot consciously draw that line. I just want to exert that care so much. So the next thing I know, because of that, where I can't draw a line anymore, and more mindfulness about like how I express my care, and I really want to like tune myself into it. That whole world that I was talking about at the beginning of the night, that world of mine, without knowing, has shifted to something different. So a few things I'm gonna talk about that. Do I care about people? For sure I do. You know? You guys are awesome. You had some awesome stories for tonight too. So this is why I seek opportunities on a big scale, like that being a firefighter, joining the Red Cross, so on and so forth. And now I'm including seizing opportunities on a smaller scale, like asking people how they're doing, acknowledging and thanking, and even knowing and remembering details in their lives that they care about. And the small thing that I did a while ago for each and every story was a handshake or a hug. Because I want to show that I truly care about the stories I was listening and learning for tonight. Do I care about objects? Of course. Not because I'm being materialistic, right? It's because it's to show respect to the design and the craft that's invested in them. At some point, I'm sure that there is someone somewhere out there taking the time to create these objects, designing them. Let alone considering the journey that object that they created, like what that journey looked like for that object and how it reached a person that maybe got more in tune to that object, maybe holding that sentimental value later on. Do I care about my health? Absolutely. I cannot look past my health. Not only do I center what I consume for nutrition, exercise, for performance and longevity, I also dropped smoking. Smoking was a thing that I was, it was a very bad habit. There's no benefit involved on it, so I dropped that one. Drinking is one thing that I want to tune into. I stopped drinking. And here's the reason why. Because I wanted to stop drinking. In the event, in the future, maybe later on, maybe tonight, that I get a call that, hey, I need your help. Or hey, I need someone to come over here right now. Hey, I need someone to pick me up. I want to be that reliable person. I want to say, absolutely, I'm on my way. Do I care about our Earth? Of course, it's our Earth, right? It's the one thing that we all share. So, if we are all cohabitating on this planet, I want to make sure that I'm doing my part, taking care of it. You know, because I want to be a good neighbor for all of you. That means, you know, typical nature stuff, maybe. Reducing plastic where I can, reducing my carbon footprint, and doing a few park and beach cleanups. So something that I practice on doing, and this is how I show I care, is that my target is 0 waste. If not, it's reducing, reuse, recycle, upcycling. That's something I practice. I'm not super great at it, to be honest, but like I try to do what I can. But the thing is, the reason why I do that is because I just have to constantly remind myself that there is no planet B. You know, we're living on planet A, no planet B. All right, so here's the fun part. Here's something that Corin mentioned a while ago, that I'm vegan and I'm an animal rights activist. This was eventually going to get brought up. Do I care about the animals? Yes, I do. They are so beautiful, so innocent, and so underappreciated. Bear with me. You probably heard this once or twice, maybe in social media or whatnot. Yeah, beautiful, innocent, underappreciated. That's why I stopped eating and wearing them. I realized that it is hard to care about them while I also put them in my mouth or I wear their skin on my backs. To me, at this point where how I harmonize, how I care, that part is just so weird to me, and that's why I fight for them. Do I care about what you fight for? Here's the juicy part. Heck yeah, I do. Listen, if you're using your voice to bring awareness to the injustice that is happening around the world that goes unchecked, keep doing that shit. That is the most gangster thing anyone can do. You're using your voice, that is your power. Keep doing it, right? No one else, you can't wait for anyone else. If you're doing it right now, awesome. I thank you, the current generation thanks you, and the next generation thanks you. So keep doing that. Do I care about video games? Yes. Yes, I do. Alright, so I can go on and on with things I care about at this point, but I want to impart and clarify that it took me a while to get to this point. Somewhere in my journey, I realized I was stressing too much about caring. I was pressuring myself to project that, hey, I care. I didn't understand at the time that I was subliminally trying to prove myself onto others and to prove myself to myself. Once I realized that, once I acknowledged that it was a selfish trait. Like, I'm not really caring about others. I'm caring about like what they think about me. You know? Like, where is the genuine part? I want that to manifest. I want that to come out. So once I've acknowledged that I'm projecting myself, I took that away and actually genuinely cared. And it was just all that weight and all that stress. The ones that I was mentioning a while ago, like the list, I'm like, this is too much. Like that all got washed away. That's all like just natural. That's all just genuine. And I can just act upon caring. So with that, where I am now, I'm still in the military. I'm still with the Red Cross. And I must make sure you all know that I'm still connected with my friends, family, and even coworkers in such a beautiful way now. You know, a much more beautiful way, much more beautiful manner. We have stronger bonds. I also would like to share that I juggle what I can with my free time to show that I care about both others and for myself. I'm taking the time to show care to others and to myself. I'm putting that, I'm compartmentalizing that, making sure that I got time for me too. Some of the things that I do for that one is I digest books where I can feed my mind into. I'm not doing too well on that part, but I try, right? Reading is not my thing, but I try. I fight for the oppressed, something that you all heard about, you know, especially for the animals, so wherever I can. And everything that I do now, all that stuff that I mentioned a while ago, just makes me feel more full, makes me feel more happy, makes me feel more complete. I've also discovered acceptance. Acceptance is how I show I care within my world. Accepting you, accepting me for who I am. Thank you. So, I also know, and I also realize that for my story, that this is just a chapter. That this journey may change again in the future. And I'm fine with it. Because I know that in the next chapter, we'll still have a little bit of something that will always be a part of me, which is that, my expression of care. So here I stand, excited for a new and fresh bonds with all of you. And I'm looking forward to hear how you all express how you care, as I may learn a little bit more for my own expression. I think a little bit of that already bled into from the stories for tonight. And I truly appreciate that. So once we start parting ways, I would like for everyone to think on where we go from here. When we start our journey, share something amazing together. Let's start thinking about how we can express our care and how we can paint the city of Macon with our own art of caring. A little bit of a side note. For me being in the military, there's quite a few times that I get recognized for what I do. A little bit of a workaholic, and it kind of shows. I get some plaques for some accomplishments. I have it on my desk to the left, I have it on my desk to the right, but right there at the center, my proudest accomplishments are some of these cards that I receive from people on how much they're so thankful on how I express I care, because at some point I stopped what I'm doing. I've stopped what I was doing, dropped everything, and just asked them, how are you doing? How's your day? And it meant the world to them. But I didn't know, because I just wanted to genuinely ask and genuinely see how they're doing. That is my proudest part about all this. So just start thinking about your world and how you can express that care and how it can be an art. One more expression of care is thanks. So I would like to share my thanks to Grant's Lounge. Thank you for having us over here. Of course, Storytellers Macon, thank you so much. To our storytellers, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for awesome stories. And of course, our story listeners. Yeah, you all are here, you all ingested everything. Thank you so much. We love to hear your stories next time. Thank you all.
All right, I'm not going to keep you very very much longer. It's just to be another 20 seconds. If you would like to meet with Shannon Turner, she is here in the audience. She is happy to talk about your organization. She's happy to talk about your nonprofits. She's happy to talk about how you can use storytelling in your lives in the future.